Ahoy there, everybody. It's Captain Mike. I'm finally going to be getting to the part of videos where I'm actually doing something besides driving around the farm chasing poachers and big white beasts and God knows what else. Anyway, this is a huge dinosaur of a woodworking equipment called a scroll saw. You use a scroll saw, or I plan to use it, for scrolling out little patterns of wood, such as these, which become the handles of some knives that I'll be making in some upcoming videos. Except for one thing. The scroll saw needs some help, so we're going to help the scroll saw today. I've just laid some of these things back. I had started stripping it down earlier, and it got very cold, it snowed, and I actually had more fun sitting around in the warm house watching everybody else's videos than making my own. But there are several things we have to do with this today. And if you happen to have one of these, you may find that the parts and pieces are basically all similar. They just put them together a little different. This particular saw is a freestanding Shopsmith. I wish I could get you the model number, but somebody scratched off that end of the nomenclature plate on it. And anyway, it is a draft horse of a bandsaw. Let's see if I can find something to measure with. It's actually 22, but I'm going to call it a 21. So you got a 21-inch throat there. You can basically bandsaw out some big stuff with one of these. Now, there are several things I had to do with this to figure out what needed to be done. And there are several good tutorials on various Shopsmith scroll saws that are on YouTube. I could not find one that was specifically to this model, and that's why I thought, you know what, I'll just do a video of fixing this damn thing up. So I'm going to call this a dry run because I don't have my beer mug filled up yet. It is Super Bowl Sunday, so we may have a quick video before I get back into the warm house to watch the warm football game out of Los Angeles. Now, I have taken some of this apart earlier. I just put it back in place so that it would be easy to tell what it really is or how it goes. This particular top plate here will pivot, and that would allow you to make cuts that had, what do you want to call it, like a mitered cut kind of. There are some scroll saw projects where you'd want to do that. But to take this off, there is a knob here, tightening knob. That has to come out. I put it back in to keep it from walking away while the project lays in parts and pieces. It's a good idea if you got a workshop. Yeah, it takes a minute or two more to take all those things back out before you put something back together, but at least you have the part there. Now, the back end of this is supported by this thing. This thing is a broken bracket that generally sits right there. And the reason it's not sitting there is because it broke. And the two ends of it are screwed in here. I'll be taking those out, marking them so I make sure I put them back in the right spot. And then we're going to try an interesting thing. Let me do a disclaimer. I don't work for Shopsmith. I really went woo-woo over their products when I started seeing them in the 70s and 80s. I didn't have the kind of money to buy one. I did most of my work with we called it a skill saw back then, but it's basically a handheld circular saw. The Shopsmith, my experience with it is this thing here. And I'm going to tell you, it's a beast. It's got some good heavy weight to it, I think. And it looks like it's made to stay working all day. One of the problems I didn't like a lot about Shopsmith stuff is that if you went with their normal system, the thing is a skill saw. You can get a scroll saw attachment, bandsaw attachment too, I think, 2 or 3 other things, and I think it also turns into a refrigerator, and it does everything except pay your child support. Basically, I don't like all-in-one type tools that much, because what tends to happen is when something breaks for one tool, it just eliminated your ability to use any of the others. Oh, it works as a drill press too, I think. So, let's just say that your motor burnt out. Well, guess what? You're not doing anything till you replace that. That's the only problem I had with the Shopsmith stuff. But I'm going to tell you, this thing's really built like a brick shithouse. There's no doubt there. I thought that what I would do is I heard kind of a high-pitched squeaky sound coming, and I thought I'd better look this over before I start using it and burn up a really good tool when it would have took just a little tweaking here and there to fix it. And as usual, when you take something apart, one thing leads to another, to another, to another, and that's where we are now. If you happen to have one of these, it will fit a 6-inch blade, or even a 5-inch blade, because you can adjust that here with your blade tensioner. When I start sawing stuff up, I'll do one video of making stuff with it, and then you get kind of the idea. But basically, there are a few pain in the ass parts about this. I'll get into them when I start to use the saw on a video. Let's just think about fixing it for now. So, since I was having this noise problem from somewhere down here, I needed to get there and see what it was. And there's a couple things under here, and one of them is the air pump. Now, the air pump, you can get to a lot of it with this plate right here. So we remove the plate. It bolts down with 3 or 4 little bolts. And once you remove the plate, I hope I can do this, and you can see inside. But there are these fly-weighted, there's the fly weights, camshafts that are what do the up and down work on the blade. Now the gears here are some kind of plastic type of material. I'd almost say nylon, but I think they're a little tougher than that. I don't believe they're Delrin, but they seem a little tougher. And I've also, since I had this open, it was a good time to go around and look and see, do I have any gears that are torn up? Do I have any problems? And no, there are none. We're going to lubricate this, though, before I get done. And it may be that Shopsmith did not require people to lubricate the things. I could see it working without it, but I think working with it will be a little smoother. Now, as I showed you the cams, they are driven. This cam here, first one, is what comes off of the drive motor, which is in the back here somewhere. And that drives this geared and counterweighted cam, which has the sort of like a piston rod on it, and that's what makes this go up and down. That's what converts the circular or rotary motion to an up and down motion. And what they did is they put their air pump here sort of on a stick. If you look in here, the piston to pump air is attached to this arm, and there are not really, there's some sort of a pin in here, but I don't have anything, a drift pin that is small enough to drive that out so that I can pull this up and get it off and out of there. So about the only way I have to get this out, I may try it with a nail. Let me turn this off a minute and we'll see. Okay, I think I might have us back up to speed here. Let me just check and make sure you can see this whole thing. Oh, it looks like it. Now, here is a case of not having the right tool but trying to make something else work. I don't advocate making something else work when there's actually a better tool to do the job with. And the reason for that is I've probably ruined more stuff by trying to fix it with the wrong tools or whatever. On the other end, being able to use whatever's at hand has gotten me out of a lot of sticky situations too. The other caveat I want to give is that sometimes you're going to see a label or a company name that I didn't cover over. If you see a name, don't think I'm endorsing that product. I'll tell you if I am. And don't think that they're helping to cover the cost of making videos either, because they're not. You know, if they like paying celebrities millions of dollars to endorse their products, and they ought to come forward with us guys on YouTube and you know, sort of like throw some silver in the palm. But they don't, mainly because they're assholes. Okay, so anybody that's been an asshole to me, I'm going to tell you who they were. Anybody that's been good to me, I'm going to tell you who they were too. Alright, so here we go. What this actually is a nail set. It's the number 2 nail set. They use these for punching finishing nails down below the wood level, so that they throw a little filler over that and you don't know where the nails were. What I'm going to do is try and pop this pin out. Doesn't seem to be moving yet. Something else, this isn't a hammer, obviously. Would have been nice if it was. I couldn't find one on short notice. It's probably in the leather shop. Anyway, what I did was feel along where this pin went in. One side, the pin is not all the way protruding. The other side, it protrudes a tiny little bit, and I believe that's where the hammer hit it at the factory when they put it together. So the pin went in from here in that direction. I want to push it out in the opposite direction, because that's probably going to be the easiest course to get it out without breaking something and being able to reuse it. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of movement, and that is a very good thing. If I can get a tiny little bit more. Now, something else to tell you is if you notice, this isn't a straight, what do you want to say, it isn't a perfectly parallel shaft. So if you go in too far, you can actually bust part of a housing off. So if you're ever doing this job on something and that's the only tool you've got, you got to be extremely careful not to get it in so far that it starts wedging apart the housing of whatever pin you're trying to pound out. Now at this point, we got real lucky. So I am going to use a pair of pliers, my handy dandy pliers, on the multi-tool. I will tell you about multi-tools. There are several very good brands. I tend to use Leatherman. We use those in helicopters, in the Army, and you name it. It was a tool that came, probably the plier part was the most useful part of it, because when you'd have to rewire a window or rewire screws or bolts, you could do it with that. This is the pin. That is the pin right there. And it's in perfect shape to reuse. So now we got to put the pin somewhere that it doesn't get lost. I just did that. So then at this point, we should be able to lift this up. And if you notice, a little grommet, a little washer fell out. Now we're bringing up what is the air cup. This is the air pump and air cup in these saws. There's a spring on it. There's a spring clip right there. I'm going to clean this up, decide what I want to do for re-oiling it or what, and then we're going to put it back, and then we know that's one more part of this that has been fixed. And I'll put the spring over here with the clip, and I need to find something that I can clean with, and I have it right here. Alright, what do we have as a cleaning agent? Don't really see one that's good hanging around, but we'll take this apart the rest of the way now. Clean the top part while I'm doing it. And how it's made is with a little plastic insert here that I imagine, I have no idea what the hell that's supposed to do. Probably just keep dirt out. So we pull this out. It didn't do a very good job, did it? So we pull that out, and we have a little plastic tube. First thing I'm going to do is knock out as much crap as I can. You're going to like me for that. I love knocking the crap out of stuff. Mainly jerks, but hopefully we won't run into any of them. So we now clean this off and clean the inside. Didn't get it all, but Mr. Prick has arrived. Now I'm not digging hard enough to scratch the plastic. That's not what you want to do in something like this. You want that plastic in there to be as smooth and slippery as it can be. If you see there's just a little bit left in there, I'm going to get that out. Blow on it a little bit. Now somebody's shooting a gun. Wonder who that is. Guys, I live on a 150-acre farm. That's the farm up the road. when you live out in the sticks, you do that. I don't know, maybe he's happy. Maybe his wife decided to let him get a little last night or something. I don't know. When it comes to New Year's, for me, because I do the pirate thing, you know, I have a bunch of cannon. So when I do New Year's, that's what I use. And that usually keeps the riffraff down too. There's just something about one cannon is just a bang. You fire about 13 of them, people get the idea you could get serious with them. And they become much more polite. Okay, so we have that part cleaned. Now I want to look at the piston. The piston actually looks like it might actually be a real leather. Which would not be out of keeping for the time period and all. Because I really think this was probably made in the 60s, 70s, maybe 80s. Which would make it what? We're 2022. Make it about 40 years old, maybe 50. And you're going to find that I use a lot of tools that are actually hundreds of years old. And I use a lot of very old tools because they were made very well back then. If they were cared for, they will last another 100 years. The blacksmithing tools that I use, and most of the stuff that I make, blacksmithing wise, just plan on that lasting at least to your great-grandchildren and probably another generation or two after that. So when I start selling shit, you might think about buying some. I do plan to make a lot of things for my viewers. Mainly because I like the idea of making videos. I have given up on any possible way of making money from YouTube. But eventually I'm going to put up a buy me a coffee. And if you like my stuff, do that. It'll keep me interested in making videos. I can pretty much guarantee you I won't be buying coffee with it though. So don't sue me for fraud, because I'm going to be buying probably rum and beer. All on camera stuff. Always that. I'm paying my damn internet bill. There's always that damn thing. See, that's another thing out here in the country. And it's part of what they're talking about with an infrastructure plan was so that we could get broadband internet. Out here, you basically can get dial-up, or you pay the extra money to have an internet hotspot on your cell phone. And those all have little screw yous in the contracts where you think you got unlimited, and then they say, oh no, it's only unlimited up to 25 gigabytes or whatever, 10. But you can buy another 10 for another 30 bucks or 50 bucks. Everything's a jack your ass up sale today. I don't plan on doing that, and I never have done that to my customers. But I'll tell you what, when I find those little sons of bitches that come up with stuff the way they do, I screw them every time in every which way I can. You know, somebody comes up and says, oh yeah, I'm a whatever, and I do this to the .com, and we make filthy rich ass money and screw people. You can bet that guy's going to pay about 5 times more for something than you would to get it from me. It's not that I hate .com people either. It's just you've got, I don't know what the hell. I mean, I love entrepreneurs. Everybody should be one. But when you just charge an asinine amount of money for something because you think you're, you know, the smartest guy in the world, well, fuck you. I'll try not to use that word. Today's one of those days. Okay, what y'all watched me do was pick, clean, and get all the dust and dirt out of this. This thing actually is leather. Now, leather is an excellent material to use on something like this. So now it's a case of figuring out what I want to lubricate it with. And I think what I want to do is lubricate it with that type of oil that's meant for leather. So that means we're going to quit here for a second, and I'll be back.